All right, we are live on the overlay. Let's go ahead and close that. There we go. And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Integrity Racing League 2021 season round 3 here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. I'm Jonathan Oates, and joining me today in the broadcast booth is Isaac Johnson. Isaac, how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Just had myself a nice drink of soda. I'm just kind of sitting here waiting to watch these cars bump for around Homestead Miami Speedway for 134 laps. Don't know why I'm talking like a radio broadcaster, but this could be a fun night.
Well, at the moment, all we got to do is try and get the ticker software figured out, because I've had some issues with it pre-race. Okay, so now it's displaying twice. You know what? We'll try and work with this for now. So, we're in qualifying right now for the Integrity Racing League here at Homestead. It is Chris Ryan in the 80 car out on track now, starting his warm-up lap. A couple of things for tonight. New to this race is the choose cone rule. We have a camera set up for it and everything. You are allowed to choose the inside or the outside of the front straightaway, but what you are not allowed to choose is the cone itself, because you will likely get a penalty for that. So, that's about everything we've got for tonight. It is still very early in the season, but we've already seen some contenders emerge so far. Think back to last week when Ethan Lane absolutely dominated the Daytona road course. Isaac, is there anyone you can kind of pick out at the moment as a contender as we get later into the season?
Well, I mean, Brad Patton showed his aggression early on at Daytona, so I feel like he's going to be another pick that I'm going to put my money on, as he also did pretty good at the Daytona road course. Another one is Ethan Lane, of course, our Daytona road course winner. Seems pretty fast. Jacob Fife, another guy who seems to be running up front constantly. And I don't know if he has his brother or something in the field tonight. Jim Fife, just noticed that.
I believe Jim Fife is his father. Chris Ryan through turns 3 and 4, but it's Brent McCoy on pole with a 32.96, Heischman in second, and Patton third. The top three separated by 3/1000ths of a second. Fife into fourth, followed by Kevin P. Matz, Guillermo Alvarez, and William Dunn in eighth. James Hudson in seventh, currently off track, but at the moment it's looking like Brent McCoy going to be on pole for the Integrity Racing League from Homestead. Brent McCoy has been strong over the past couple of races. Doesn't surprise me that he is up front at the moment. Alec Daffin, a very strong driver here on the iRacing service. Right now going out for his laps. We can go ahead and go on board with Daffin as he rounds through turns 3 and 4. I know from experience racing against him that he is definitely a very strong driver. Ethan Lane now to the top of the board with a 32.946, last week's winner. Looking to get 2 in a row here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. You see Daffin diving it down to turn 1. That line there, right on that seam on the bottom, that is going to be the preferred groove throughout the night. You might be able to make a lane a little bit lower or a little bit higher than that work, but for the most part, that is where you want to be throughout the race. There isn't going to be a lot of drivers looking around, unlike the real Homestead Miami Speedway, just due to the nature of the sim. You see how Alec right on that seam through 3 and 4, that's just where you... Oh, and he's spinning! Off turn 4, he's going to save it, but Alec Daffin going to have to try and come to a stop. Doesn't want to start his next lap. But disappointment for Daffin, who had a good run going. Still Ethan Lane on pole at the moment, last week's winner. Trying to re-establish dominance over the field. Eric Crowe out on track as well. Maybe running the wall through turns 1 and 2. Only caught the tail end of that turn. Isaac, what do you make out of qualifying so far?
I mean, the top 4 can be thrown under a blanket. They're so close together. Only 4/100ths of a second separate first and fourth, and then, fifth on back. It's pretty close behind, too. Just barely a tenth, hair over a tenth. Separating those guys. It's going to be a pretty good race.
It's just occurred to me that I do need to update the ticker from Daytona Road Course to Homestead. Eric Crowe currently 15th on the board. Ethan Lane still on top. For the most part, qualifying has actually wrapped up. It's looking like a just over 30 car field, looking like 33 entries for tonight, so a relatively full field of cars. I'm guessing we're going to see something similar to what we saw in the preseason race at Atlanta. A lot of green flag racing, a lot of tire saving, and a lot of good battles throughout the field. I think tires are going to come into play quite a bit. I think that the Homestead Miami Speedway, it has a very rough surface. It's very harsh on tires, but you also got to get the car slowed down quite a bit. It's not like other 1.5 miles with wider sweeping turns. I mean, you really have to jump all the way out of the throttle. Isaac, your thoughts on tires throughout the race?
I mean, we all saw Atlanta, right? It's going to be it's going to be pretty safe these first few laps as these guys are just bumpering around the track. Like I said, they're just going to be taking care of their equipment, making that fuel last as long as it can. And we're most likely going to see a ton of green flag pit stops and strategy above all win this race.
Right here is our choose cone cam. We'll be able to see which driver takes which lane on the front straightaway, coming to 1 to green to the restarts. Like I said, you can choose the inside or the outside, but you cannot choose the cone. That is the one thing you cannot do in the choose cone, which makes me think that it's a little bit poorly named, but I digress. The field gridding up. It is Ethan Lane on pole. Actually, they're not gridding up because this is a warm-up for the drivers at the moment. So a couple of drivers are going to get some late practice in before the race tonight. I'm going to play around with the ticker a little bit more and see if I can figure out how to get it to display the grid. What happens if I click on this button? Oh, it made a sound, but it didn't do anything. All right. Well, we tried. Cody Tripp out on track right now, heading into turns 3 and 4. What happens if I click points current? Ooh, it hid the thing, but it didn't do anything. Oh, wait, there it is. Look at that. Still says Bathurst, but it doesn't show the championship standing, so maybe if I click points before. This software is still relatively new to me. I haven't been using it for too long. Looks like Cody Tripp trying to practice some green flag pit stops. Still not showing the championship standings, so maybe if I go to race, what happens if I click race? Okay, that brings up all that. Okay, well, in the end, I don't think that I was able to figure out how to bring up the points, so we'll just go back to our traditional format. Nope, not that one. That one. There we go. Cody Tripp back out onto the pit lane. Might run into someone who is currently on the pit lane. Most drivers just kind of waiting out the warm-up. Brad Patton on track at the moment. Still in the pit lane. I don't think there is anybody who is not in the pit lane. This might just be the driver's meeting. Isaac, I don't know if you have anything on the radios.
They're going through driver's meeting right now.
Okay, well that does make sense. A couple of more drivers coming out to the end of the pit lane. Tom Wetmore. I think if I had to guess, they're not allowed to go out on track during the driver's meeting. It's fairly common practice. So right now, just going to wait it out until the start of the race here at Homestead. Like I said, I think tire saving is going to be a key to the race. I think that getting that line right lap after lap. I mean, Homestead is kind of a precision track if you think about it. You really got to hit that seam, especially on iRacing, just over and over again. That's going to be the preferred line. So the driver who can hit that the most consistently, I think, is going to have a pretty easy time of the race here. It's not the hardest track to get out, to get around on your own on one lap, but it's definitely difficult to get around lap after lap. Isaac, I don't know if you have any experience racing at this track or anything of the sorts. Actually, I don't know why I asked you that question, because I know that you just got the track before the broadcast, so...
Yeah, you literally bought it for me like 7 minutes ago.
Anything to talk about for the minute and 40 remaining before this race?
These drivers are going to attempt to go around in circles for 134 times.
Well, generally the driver who fails to go around in circles that many times is the one who does not win the race. But hey, I guess we could mention the lap count. 134 laps here at Homestead. It's going to be about 200 miles, so it might seem long, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not all that long of a race, especially if we can go green for a majority of it. We've only seen a few full course cautions this season. Only one of them was outside of a plate track. That was last week at the Daytona Road Course. So we might add to that count today, but so far looking like a very clean and green flag series. Currently 9 people tuned in to the broadcast, so thank you all for joining us. Definitely a change of pace from the first 2 races of the season. We went to one of the biggest tracks and one of the fastest tracks on the schedule to a road course now to our first intermediate race of the season. I think that the drivers who are going to be fast here are going to be fast throughout the season. Homestead, a pretty typical 1.5 miles when compared to some of the other ones, if not a little bit more challenging. So I think that if you're good here, you're going to be pretty solid. Tom Wetmore out on track at the moment. Other things of note, we have adjusted the audio balancing on the stream a little bit since last race. OBS can be a little bit funky with what is coming through on my end and what is coming through on your end, but hopefully what we have today is an improvement over the last race as Wetmore gonna get back out of the pit lane off turn 4. I think that pit exit or pit entrance is gonna be definitely something that we'll need to talk about because it's not a very straightforward entrance. You kind of need to get the car really slowed down in the turn and dive it off the corner. I've seen before that because these drivers are running that middle lane for the most part, getting into the pit lane can be a struggle without hitting anybody else. Warm up done, so we can get this race underway. Next 5 minutes going to be spent gridding up, and then we can get this race at Homestead underway. 134 laps on display. Ethan Lane on pole, looking to be a race favorite. Isaac, anything else you got to say as these drivers are gridding?
Speed.
Well, speed is going to be important, so thank you for the contribution.
No problem, man. I try my hardest.
I mean, hey, it can be pretty difficult to fill airtime like this, but we hope we did a good job. Ethan Lane going to grid up as your pole sitter in that number 26 machine. Bit of a paint scheme change since last week, unless it's just that I don't have trading paints loaded, but I think it just automatically starts up. But hey, it'll be loaded now, so if anyone's paint scheme refreshes, you'll know why. Alright, so now we're just gridding, ready for the pace laps. 1 lap of pacing and we'll get this thing started. 134 laps, full course cautions. Homestead Miami Speedway, other words associated with this race. I'm thinking we're going to see, like I said, a lot of green flag running, a lot of tire saving, and a lot of drivers just kind of taking it cautious early on. Lights are up on the top of your screen. When they go red, that'll signify the green flag. For now, we are just getting our pacing underway. So here we go for the Integrity Racing League 2021 season round 3, presented by Pro, Powder, and Paint. Ethan Lane going to be your pole sitter, leading him through the access road. That is something that these drivers will have to take throughout the race, not just on this pace lap. So if there are green flag pit stops, they will have to take this access road all the way to pit exit, which can be tricky. It's it's a deceivingly tight corner. Now everyone just gridding up side by side behind the pace car. Going down the back straightaway and headed for turn number 3. Alright, here we go. Round 3 of the 2021 Integrity Racing League season. Ethan Lane going to lead him to green, trying to defend his win from last week at the Daytona Road Course. And here we go, off turn number 4. Pace car going to make that sharp left turn into the pit lane. Field in the hands of Ethan Lane. You're going to hear the engines rev up in a moment. The green flag is out. We are racing in Miami. Ethan Lane leading him towards turn 1. Lane side by side with McCoy, headed towards turns 1 and 2. The field diving for that first seam on the racetrack with that high line. It can work off the start. Off 2 down the back, Ethan Lane going to slide up in front of McCoy. He is looking to lead lap 1. The field charges down the back straightaway and towards turn 3. Got to get that nice wide exit. Everyone just kind of backing off early on, trying to get single filed out. Don't want to burn up your tires too early. Ethan Crowe trying that high line, trying to get a run off turn 4. Back to the start-finish line now. Ethan Lane going to lead lap 1. Back towards turns number 1 and 2, Ethan Lane leading over Patton in second, McCoy to third. Fife on the outside of Heischman for 4th. For the most part, though, everyone's single file going down the back straightaway. Isaac, over to you.
Yeah, these guys are just single filing out right here. As you can see, no one really trying to force the issue here, as we got only 2 skirmishes for position. As that I could see coming off turn 4 here is pretty much everyone else is sitting in line, except for a particular driver. I think I've talked about him being aggressive before. Brad Patton's looking for that lead.
Yeah, Brad Patton looking pretty aggressive early on. I also saw Nick Tarabuck looking pretty aggressive in the back of the field. That 34 car of Justin Trombley as well, trying to work his way up the inside of, I believe, that is Jay Heischman. Down the back straightaway towards turn 3. Here comes Patton moving over to the inside, trying to take the lead. He's going to do it in a 3, clear of Ethan Lane. New leader at the line, or new leader will be at the line. It's going to be Brad Patton. Great move by him, but I have a feeling Ethan Lane might just be playing a little bit early, a little bit fair early on. Lap 3 in the books, now on lap 4. Still Brad Patton leading away over Ethan Lane. Patton taking a little bit of a wider line, maybe trying to save that right front. Off 2 down the back once again. A little bit of a battle going on behind. Sean Kimball trying to get up on the back bumper of Caitlin Height. Or sorry, Kimball trying to get up on the bumper of Guillermo Alvarez. Meanwhile, Caitlin Height working down the inside of Trombley. Side by side coming to lap 5. Height still on the inside there. Side by side for position going into turns 3 and 4. It's going to be Height over Heischman. Heischman, though, holding strong in the outside lane, trying to use that 4th line. Maybe just trying to get a run off turn number 4. We haven't really seen anyone experiment with that line so far. It's going to stall out on exit. Alvarez now down the inside, headed for turn 3. Through turns 3 and 4, Brad Patton leading away over Lane and McCoy. McCoy putting a little bit of pressure on Lane. Off turn 4 for the 5th time tonight. McCoy still trying to run down Lane. Still, for the most part, single file. Right now, your top 5 ending up at Justin Trombley. Caitlin Height being aggressive early on, trying to run down Trombley. He's going to go a little bit wide off turn 4, though. Maybe going to give Alvarez a little bit of a run. Now Trombley looking down the inside of Fife, going to turn number 3. Fife going out wide, letting Trombley have that inside line. Side by side, headed through turns 3 and 4. Trombley trying to keep it right along that seam on exit. Fife, though, going to fight back on the outside. You're able to do that here at Homestead. I think Trombley's going to have to fall back in line. We'll see if Height takes advantage. She does not. Trombley, Fife, side by side through 1 and 2. Fife making the high line work. Everybody rolling off turns 2, down the back straightaway. Patton leading. Fife still fighting with Trombley. Couple of guys hitting the wall on the way into turn 3. You got to get as close to that outside wall as you can. Jacob Fife, though, the outside lane going to work out in his favor. He's going to clear Trombley going off turn 4. Isaac, any updates on the field? And okay, Brad Patton is running all the way up to the outside wall. That is a unique strategy that I have not seen on iRacing so far. Is he going to do it again in 3 and 4? He is. Brad Patton using that Tyler Reddick line all the way up by the fence in turns 1 and 2, still pulling away. Isaac, do you have me? I think Isaac might be experiencing some issues right now.
Hello?
Yes?
Oh, Mike was muted.
Well, that does sound not good for commentary. Isaac, I was just asking if you have any updates on the field right now, maybe over radio.
Yeah, I'm just listening to radio right now. It's mainly guys just saying, hey, I'm trundling around here, I'm just letting you by, and Alec Daffin is mad at somebody.
Alec Daffin might have gotten a little bit of an incident early on. Meanwhile, Sean Kimball getting around Jay Heischman. Nick Tarabuck in 3 and 4 running all the way next to that white line. Back up to your right. Oh, we got one going around. Into the inside wall off turn number 4. No caution. We stay green. I believe that might have been Caitlin Height. I'm not sure. We'll take a look at a replay. One car just went around. We've got it paused at the moment. I saw one spinning off turn 4. Huh, okay. I might have imagined that.
Cody Tripp
Okay,
just said his monitor shut off and then came back on, and when he came back that he was almost spinning into the wall.
Oh, yeah, so that might have, yeah, that was probably it. Cody Tripp, meanwhile, clearing Lee Pierce. Meanwhile, Michael Dewell trying to go down the inside of Pierce, side by side going into turn 1. Dewell just running too low on the track to make a charge at it. That might even open up the door for Wetmore to take that 3rd lane, use it as an advantage. Fly by the field as they go down the back straightaway. Big battle going on right now around that 18th position. Cody Tripp has the spot right now. Lee Pierce on his bumper. Here comes Dewell to the bottom. A couple of different lines being used by these drivers through 3 and 4. Now look at Wetmore. Wetmore might be making a charge up the middle. Down the front straightaway. Brad Patton still in control by about half a second over the field. Wetmore headed for 3 on the high side. Look at Cody Smith all the way ripping the fence up by the wall. Even in an era without dynamic track, these guys are still able to make a couple of different lines work. Cody Smith all the way up by the wall in 1 and 2. Got a big run into 3 and 4. Just trying to rim right it around the wall here at Homestead. There's a big bump in the middle of 3 and 4, though. You don't want to hit it. Cody Smith really making that high line work for him. He might be able to make it work throughout the race. Back up to the front. Brad Patton leading by about 0.6 of a second over Ethan Lane and Brent McCoy. Jacob Fife trying to make that third line work. Trying to get a run on McCoy. For the most part, though, that battle right now is around that 18th spot. Isaac, any updates on Pierce or Tripp?
Nope, nothing over radio. I'm just seeing those guys just racing, just kind of hanging out. They're falling back a little bit, but yeah, they're just trying to, I think, finish this one out. Just wait for the first pit cycle. See if they can make up some ground there.
Yeah, I have a feeling our first pit stop's going to come around lap 50, so I think we're looking at a 2-stop race. I'm actually going off of estimates that I have in a league that runs the car tomorrow. But this car is similar enough that I think it should be around the same, so we're looking at about a 2- and a 3-stop race. Tom Wetmore
going over radio chatter right now, saying he's tight and he's having a hard time wheeling this thing around here, so that probably explains why Patton's pulling away so far.
Yeah, Brad Patton, he's just been wheeling that thing at the front of the field, although I do worry for his tires. I know that on iRacing it can definitely be difficult to find a balance between going fast and saving that right front especially. Side by side off turn 4, Roush and Wetmore to the line. It's going to be Wetmore that time by for 21st. Patton still at the front of the field though, running away with this thing. Ethan Lane in second, McCoy third, Fife fourth. Just looking for a battle on track. Kevin Matz and Ethan Crowe side by side. Crowe net coding and going up the track. Towards turn 3, Eric Crowe. I've been calling him Ethan Crowe this whole race. Crowe on the outside of Matz. Look at Crowe running that fourth line up by the wall. Not quite as close to the wall as I've seen some people running, but still very close to that outside. Gives them a huge run on the straightaway, so you are still able to make that high line work. It's just a lot more difficult. But Ethan Crowe, he is committed to that fourth line. Making this race very much entertaining, running that Kyle Larson line up by the wall. Nice run off turn 2. They're moving around in the back just a little bit. Cody Tripp right now leading over Roush and Pierce. But take a look behind. Jody Banfield now under pressure from Tom Wetmore. Wetmore down the inside. Side by side through turns 3 and 4. Everyone squeezing into that second and third lanes. Banfield up the track. Wetmore up to 20th. At the front of the field now, Ethan Lane has run down Brad Patton. It's back to about 0.5 of a second. Isaac, any updates on Ethan Lane?
Nothing over radio, just him wheeling it. I think he's starting to figure it out, or Patton's tires are beginning to show their wear.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Patton's been really running strong at the front of the field, but that comes back to bite you later on in the run. I know Patton was a little bit... actually, no, that wasn't Patton. That was actually Ethan Lane, who was talking earlier in the Discord. Brent McCoy getting a little bit loose going into turn number 1, pushing up the track a little bit. Jacob Fife trying to run a little bit lower that time by. The gap at the front, I stand corrected, is still staying at around 0.6 of a second. The main battle on track right now around here. Take a look at this. Jody Banfield running all the way up at that outside line. 3 wide around. Cody Tripp in the 21 car. Almost 4 wide headed for turn 3. Back down to 3 wide. That 19 car stuck on the inside. Tripp on the high side making big gains over Kevin Matz and Brad Fulham. Off turn 4, it's going to be Crowe over Tripp outside or just inside the top 15. Back to turn 1 now. Fulham side by side with Matz. Matz on the high side. You can make it work if you're brave enough. Matz, though, just falling back in the moment. Meanwhile, the gap at the front is now starting to come down just a little bit. 0.4 between your leaders coming to lap 20 of 134. Everyone, though, like I said, just kind of running that second groove on the racetrack. No one really venturing higher or lower just yet. McCoy up the track, giving Fife an opportunity to look down the inside. Fife thought better of it. Back to turns 1 and 2. Here goes Fife looking inside. He's up to the quarter panel of the 29. He's going to try and make the move off 2. That right there, the gap between Fife and McCoy. Down the back straightaway, Fife a little bit loose. These Gen 5 chassis just tend to get a little bit loose on the straightaways as the run goes on. Nothing these drivers can really do about it. I know in the COT it can get so bad sometimes you even lift on the straightaways, not even the tri-oval. The gap between the leaders now is down to 0.3 of a second. Ethan Lane running down Patton. Isaac, your thoughts on the tires on that 1 car?
They seem pretty worse for the wear right now, pun intended. As these laps are winding down here, you can clearly see Patton's opening up his entry, rolling the car in deeper, trying to claw back some of the survivability of these tires, but I think he pushed a little too hard, a little too early on. Got
Yeah.
a little impatient sitting behind Lane there and probably just wanted to get out and lead some laps.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It can definitely be easy to push these cars a little bit too hard, especially because it's possible. It's definitely possible to get all the way back to the gas before you're off the corner, but from my experience, it's definitely better if you roll back to the throttle and aren't really full throttle until you get onto the straightaway. Side by side for third, Jacob Fife and Brent McCoy going at it off turn number 2. Fife right now falling back to McCoy. He's tried to get around him in the past couple of laps. They're all rolling it down into 3. Trombley looking high. Fife trying to stroll up to the bumper of McCoy. He goes a little wide off turn 4, though. Here comes Trombley. He's going to dive it to the inside, going to turn 1. We'll see if Fife can use the high line to try and protect that spot. Fife just going to let him go, going into turns 1 and 2. Ethan Lane and Patton at the front of the field starting to close up. You can see Lane just getting a little bit loose off turn 2 there, having to correct the car ever so slightly. But you're going to see the majority of the turning these guys are doing is just through the throttle of the car. You can see that's Ethan at max turn-in. Brad Patton running all the way against that white line. You can see Ethan just kind of feathering the throttle, getting the steering right, just kind of rolling it off the corner using the throttle. That's really the main difference between the drivers who are fast on iRacing and the drivers who are fast over a long run. That the guys who are really fast over a long run, really, they use the throttle to turn the cars. They don't really use the wheel. This battle for the lead starting to develop between your top 2 as Justin Trombley continues his charge through the field. Right now, he is going to be working on Brent McCoy. We'll switch to the blimp cam, give you an overview of the battle for third, and now the battle for the lead. You can see it all in one shot right there. Rolling back through the start-finish line now, Ethan Lane still trying to run down Brad Patton back towards turn number 1. Lane a little bit wider on entry, but for the most part, everyone running that same line. It's just what you got to run to be fast here. Off turn 2, down the back on lap 25. Headed for turn 3 now, Ethan Lane still trying to run down that one car. The gap has stabilized a little bit. Looking throughout the field, this battle between Trombley and McCoy is starting to get a little bit closer. Great exit by Trombley. He's going to get a nice run here down through the front straightaway. Kind of stumbled over my words there for a second. Going towards turn 1, Trombley looking at the bumper of McCoy. Didn't step out of line just yet. McCoy, though, going a little bit narrow off turn number 2. That's going to hurt his exit.
Patton's pulling out a lead again. He's about up a half a second again on Lane.
Yeah,
I wonder if Lane's tires are starting to wear off a little bit, too.
Yeah, Lane's been reeled in by the 29 car here at McCoy. They're actually all reeling in the leader, but it makes me wonder if maybe McCoy just... Oh, take a look at that! That 29 car got... Yeah, that 29 car got way loose off turn number 4, but he saved it. An incredible recovery by...
the hill.
By Brent McCoy. But yeah, I think that right rear tire is going to be shot after that slide. McCoy going to be side by side with Trombley off turn 2. Trombley, one of the fastest cars on track at the moment.
McCoy over the radio just yelled out, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" So this is probably a unplanned excursion for him.
Yeah, I have the feeling he didn't mean to drift it off turn 4, but nonetheless, it was very impressive. But I do think that Ethan Lane's tires might have just been used up when he was trying to run down Patton. I think he got a little bit too aggressive in that mid-run speed, and in the end, I think it's Trombley who's going to have the advantage over the long run. He is looking very strong as Jacob Fife all the way against that wall, trying to Larson it through 1 and 2. He's not going to get the run that he needs down the back. He might be able to cross over Alvarez going into 3. He's going to ride behind him, though. Might have just been letting that 83 car go. Justin Trombley up to 3rd, taking a look at lap times. We'll mark them this time by Trombley, one of the highest I-rated drivers, actually the highest I-rated driver in the field with a 7.4K. Very impressive. That time by at the line, Trombley runs a 34.6, just a little bit faster than Patton with a 34.7 in the lead. Looking throughout the field, that battle that was going on between Cody Tripp and Cody Smith, it's still there between the 21 and the 18. There's a little bit of a battle going on just inside the top 20, but for now, I think the main storyline is going to be watching Trombley charge through the field. These laps just ticking away here at Homestead. We are getting closer to that 1/3 mark, although we're not going to get it for quite a bit. Off turn 4, Cody Smith going to have a run here on Wetmore, going to hop over to the inside line. Going down towards turn number 1, Cody Smith going to hook it on that inside seam And I think he's going to roll the center. Nice through 1 and 2. Up into 18th goes Cody Smith. Justin Trombley now has made his way around Ethan Lane up into the 2nd position. They're getting a little bit tight off turn number 2. Or turn 4. I keep thinking turn 4 is turn 2. Not sure why I'm doing that.
Yeah, you've made that mistake quite a bit now.
In my defense, I mean, hey, in my defense, Homestead Miami is one of the more symmetrical bottom halves, but I can assure you these turns are very, very different. Justin Trombley now going to be about 1 second back of Brad Patton. Patton now working the lap car of Alec Daffin, who got into a little bit of trouble earlier on in the race. He said he was talking over the radio about it. Well, we just saw the damage as Patton went to lap it. Him off turn 4. Trombley going to try and take some time out of Patton's lead here. 32 laps working now. 31 laps completed.
Oh no, a broken lap.
What?
You said working laps. I was like, oh no, a broken lap.
Oh, don't you hate it when your laps break? Right now, between the leaders, the gap is about 1 second, but it is coming down ever so slightly as Trombley reels in that one car. Your top 2 right now, a Chevy and a Mustang. Not that it means anything. Guillermo Alvarez now trying to work his way around Ethan Lane. Some of these long-run cars starting to come to the front. Trombley working his way around Patton. On board with Alvarez.
Car we haven't really talked about tonight is Caitlin Height, I believe as you say that last name. The 00 car. She's making a very decent run for herself tonight. P7. Trailing behind the 36 car of Jacob Fife, sorry.
It sounds like you said Chicken Fife. I'm like, who's Chicken Fife? But yeah, like you were saying, Caitlin Height, I mean, she was really impressive last week at the road course. She's once again really impressive tonight. Side by side off turn 4 between Brent McCoy and Jacob Fife. That might let Caitlin close the gap between those two. Fife can hop back in line. Not quite, though. Still looking up the inside. Meanwhile, Trombley has cut the lead down to 0.8 of a second. We just got to make sure he doesn't make the same mistake that Lane did and run him down too aggressively. Alvarez running higher in 1 and 2, maybe experimenting with the high line. I know that as these tires wear, the high line is going to become, if anything, at least a little bit more useful. Not going to be perfect, though. That's just the nature of the tire model we're on at the moment. Nothing we can really do about that. Off turn 2, or 4. I did it again. Alvarez still trying to run down Lane, and yeah, at the front of the field, the gap between the top 2 is closing. Trombley has that lead down to 0.7 of a second. He is looking to be one of the strongest cars on the long run. Isaac, any updates on pit strategy?
Nothing yet, but I do believe that, oh geez, my scoring sheet just went crazy. Please hold. Alright, we're back. Yeah, Patton's gap is closing a little too fast. I feel like he's going to burn his tires up way too quickly, but we're not going to know that for sure until obviously he does eventually fall off, but well, it'll be hard to say if he blew it off early in an earlier run at somebody or if it was at that charge for the lead.
We got a battle, by the way. Nick Tarabuck trying to work his way down the inside of Sean Kimball. Isaac, I know that you talked a little bit about the tire run, but what are you thinking in terms of fuel here? And actually, one thing that you could do is take advantage of some of iRacing's features and go ahead and hop in a test drive session. Just maybe run 1 lap and let me know what your fuel readout is so we can get an idea of how long these guys can go on fuel.
Will do. I don't have my wheel mounted, but I'm going to drive with it unmounted.
Sounds good to me. Hopefully you don't need to leave the session. You should be able to just go into test drive mode. Meanwhile, Justin Trombley has the lead down to 0.3 of a second. Take a look at this. That 34 car reeling in the 1. Man, if you have a 34 on your Mustang, it seems like you're going to have good luck in stock cars this year. We saw it with Michael McDowell in the Daytona 500. We might just see it again tonight. Justin Trombley rolling the center of 3 and 4. He's going to cross Patton over on exit. Trombley moving down to the inside, and we might have a new leader here. Working lap 38 of 134. Battle for the lead heating up. Trombley down the inside, and he is looking to take the lead. We'll see if Patton can fight back on the high side. It's just getting a little bit too loose to hold on. New leader, Justin Trombley at the time, off turn 2. Patton gonna fight back, though. He's gonna dive it down the inside. He's gonna have the preferred groove through 3 and 4. Oh, but I think Trombley's going to be a little bit too strong. Going to squeeze him onto that bottom lane. And Justin Trombley going to hold on at the line. New leader. It's that 34 car.
So update, I just spun out, and since my wheel was unmounted, I literally slid my wheel off the desk, and I thought I was going to actually wreck somebody.
Well, luckily you are just in test drive mode, so you can't make contact with anybody, which is good. We got a little bit of a battle behind brewing up. Jacob Fife working his way, or sorry, Brent McCoy working his way down the inside of Guillermo Alvarez. All of them stacking up in front of Caitlin Height, who has kept her tires on that Toyota Supra for the long haul. She's starting to come up through the field. Justin Trombley going to pull away with the lead, working lap 40 of 134. Back to turn 1 now, Jacob Fife working his way down the inside of Guillermo Alvarez. It seems like even if you're good around that lap 30 mark of a run, you still got to be in it for the very long run, because I think we're going to get a lot of green flag racing here at Homestead, and we're seeing that pay off with the 34 and the 36 cars at the moment. Headed for turn 3, Jacob Fife working his way down the inside of Brent McCoy. Caitlin Height followed Fife through on the move on Alvarez, side by side through 3 and 4. This is the battle for P4. Fife getting a little bit loose off the corner. It's going to let McCoy pull back on the outside. Side by side, headed back towards turns 1 and 2. Seems like even on these really long runs, we're able to get a lot of good racing. Isaac, over to you.
A quick update. I believe the fuel run is going to be around 50-ish laps, somewhere in that ballpark.
All right.
We have Brent McCoy to the pits right now.
Brent McCoy to the pits?
Yes, he just called pitting this time.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that for some reason I was behind. But Brent McCoy calling it out over the radio. He is down into the pit lane. Clean entrance for McCoy. I'm guessing it's going to be 4 tires and fuel. This track just eats away at tires. We heard Larry McReynolds say it on the Fox broadcast of the Cup race. I'm going to say it again today. I'm going to say it again tonight. 4 tires and fuel is pretty much the only call you can make here. Now, though, we're going to have to watch the battle for the lead under strategy, because if Justin Trombley wants to keep his lead with the track position, he is going to need to undercut Brad Patton, or at least stay on strategy with him, because if Patton is able to undercut him, that is going to give him the lead. They're both out on track at the moment. Ethan Lane staying out along with Jacob Fife, Height as well. Everybody staying on the racetrack.
I might stay on the track here. I can actually get a pretty good perspective of what these guys are doing regarding actual racing strategy, and also if we ever get a wreck, I could probably call it out really quickly.
So update from the league admin, Don Stephenson. He has informed me that a fuel run here is about 50 to 55 laps, so I'm guessing that Brent McCoy might be trying to pull some strategy by pitting early. We'll see if anyone else comes in this time by. Trombley staying out. Patton also staying out.
I'm right behind Cody Tripp and Chris Ryan right now. We got a 4-car train going into turn 3.
Quick update on the stage lengths of this race. Stage 1 going to end at lap 44, so this is actually the last lap of the stage. Stages tonight are 44.89, and of course the final stage 134 laps, so I'm guessing that both Trombley and Patton want to stay out for the stage win and try and get those bonus points. Battle for 5th. Caitlin Height leading over Guillermo Alvarez. Alvarez up to her bumper going into 3 and 4. Trombley staying out. Patton staying out as well. So Trombley going to come across the line and win stage 1. No caution for the stages, though, just bonus points awarded. We've gone green for the first 45 laps. Justin Trombley still out on track. Now that he's picked up the stage win, he might come in this time by. It would make sense to me. Through turns 3 and 4. I want to see if Patton's going to try and undercut him. On board with the 1 car. It would make sense for Patton to try and get the track position advantage on Trombley. They're both staying out. Jacob Fife from 3rd staying out, but here comes Ethan Lane into the pit lane. That 26 car bringing it in. So Ethan Lane going to be the first out of the top 10 to bring, other than Brent McCoy, to bring it into the pit lane. But it's still Justin Trombley out on track as your race leader. Brad Patton is kind of hung with him, but for the most part, Patton has not had the speed on tires to try and keep up with Trombley. I think Patton's going to be coming in this time by. He's working the bottom. Brad Patton going to bring it into the pit lane. Trombley staying out. Smooth exit for Patton. It's going to be 4 tires and fuel, if I could guess. For the most part, everyone else staying out, though. Sam Roush bringing it in, along with Nick Tarabuck. Brad Fulham staying out. Lee Pierce coming in. So now it's down to Justin Trombley to try and let me try that one again. To try and cover off the undercut from that 1 car. Patton, 4 tires and fuel. Justin Trombley now bringing it into the pit lane, so I'm guessing that undercut attempt by Patton going to be greatly weakened by Trombley covering it off basically right away. But that is going to pass over the lead to Caitlin Height, maybe trying to go for an overcut. She right now is facing pressure from Guillermo Alvarez. First out of the pit lane in terms of the battle for the lead is obviously going to be Brad Patton taking that access road all the way onto the back straightaway. You're going to see the race leader there, Height, coming around to try and lap him. But you're going to see Patton here through 3 and 4 just flying away with those tires. That right there is the difference between new and old tires, as I'm guessing Caitlin Height, no, she's going to stay out one more lap. So now, it'll be the battle between Patton and your previous race leader, Trombley. Trombley heading through the access road now. Patton going to have the advantage of the bank, and I believe Patton is going to lead him off turn 2. Trombley going to get the run, but here comes Patton. New leader. It's going to be Brad Patton leading him towards turns 3 and 4. We heard one scrape the wall going into 3, but it was not a wreck, just a bit of a tap. Caitlin Height looking to bring it in this time by Ethan Lane, having to squeeze on the outside. No, actually, Height staying out along with Eric Crowe. They might be hoping for a caution. Daniel Williamson out on track as well. Beautiful race car that is. We're going to be 3 wide on the front straightaway. Headed towards turn number 1. That 28 car on fresh tires soaring down the inside now. Over to Brad Patton trying to use his short run speed to pull away from Trombley. The gap between them about 0.7 of a second. Trombley, though, Patton, going to have slower traffic to worry about. Both of these guys a lap down in front of him. And that 79 car nearly just wrecked in a Roush. We almost had a pileup right in front of the leaders. That would have shaken things up quite a bit. Trombley about 0.5 back of Patton. Patton might be trying to save on this run a little bit more than last time by. Height staying out one more lap along with Alvarez. So right now, everyone from Jacob Fife on back a lap down. Nick Terbuck going to have to be the next one to try and unlap himself. Isaac, any updates on strategy or maybe Caitlin Height?
Nothing over radio, and I've just been looking through the field looking for wrecks, battles, mishaps, what have you.
So Caitlin Height going to bring her doubles. Nope, still staying out on the racetrack, so really going for that overcut. Not necessarily a bad strategy considering the tire wear here. Brad Patton now stuck behind Sam Roush. Justin Trombley going to try and reel him back in, really hooking that seam, coming up on lap 52 of 134. We are we are just over that 1/3 of the way through mark now. And I have a feeling as we get towards the second half of the race, the laps are going to start to tick away. Right now, the battle on track between Patton and Trombley. Patton right now getting held up by the 13 of Sam Roush, who also came into the pit lane, but is significantly slower, simply on pace. I have a feeling, though, that if Patton has enough temperament here, he might be able to be in it for the long haul and save those tires. Brent McCoy going to be the next car for position for Patton. Height now bringing it into the pit lane. She brings her 00 down pit road. I'm going to guess it's going to be a fairly obvious call for the 00 crew. Just 4 tires and fuel. I don't think anyone's going to try and make it all the way to the halfway mark and try and one-stop the race. Unless Alvarez is saving. You can hear him clutching it, but I think he's going to bring it in this time by. So down to the pit lane goes Guillermo Alvarez, and for the most part, that's going to be everyone calling it quits. Brad Patton going to cycle out to be your race leader. Right now, Patton and McCoy have. Patton and Trombley have 1 car between them. That is for position, but you do have to keep in mind that Trombley is much better on the long runs than Patton. Eric Crowe has now inherited the lead, but he is still out on tires. You can see how he just has to run that high line to try and let the fresher tire cars by. Right now, your top 4 out on tires, while Brad Patton, your first car on fresh tires in P5. Justin Trombley, though, trying to run down Brent McCoy. That for 5th. Isaac, your thoughts on the 2 strategies by the leaders and everybody else in the field?
Well, as with most things in racing, only one of them is going to work out, and then the other guy is going to be lamenting about how it didn't work out for him. So we're really just going to be kind of having the waiting game to see which one works better. And, yeah, I have nothing else to say.
Well, anything that you make of this battle right now between Trombley and Brent McCoy, I mean, I know that Trombley, he's much better on the long run, but he's been stuck behind McCoy for quite a bit now. He's going to have a 1.2 second deficit to Patton. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, we're not really going to know how it will turn out because, again, he gets around him, then, say, a late race caution comes out, second round of fuel, or tires, pit stops. I worded that terribly. What I'm saying is, he might get around him now, but at the end of the day, he might have to do it again, and it's that last time that's really going to matter.
Yeah, I think that being good on the long runs is going to be mega important here because, I mean, the B cars tend to provide for very clean racing, especially with the setups that they have. So I have a feeling that the drivers who can stay in it longest on pace are going to be the ones to watch out for. A couple of more drivers are cycling through to the pit lane, so now it's going to be Kevin Winker, the only driver out on tires, with Brad Patton running him down. Patton now been on his tires for 10 laps, so about 40 laps. We're going to see our second cycle of pit stops. That should be the last ones for the day, unless anyone is going to try and cycle it to halfway, which that might be what Kevin is thinking here in the race lead. I mean, you can hear him. He's lifting all the way off. He's clutching and coasting it, but he is going to bring it into the pit lane. So I don't think anyone's going to try and stay out to the end, although you never really know. Someone might try and be ambitious. Brad Patton is going to cycle back to the lead. Ethan Lane back to 4th. Justin Trombley to 2nd. It's a 1.3 second gap between your leaders at the moment. Headed off turn 2. Still Trombley trying to run down Patton, looking throughout the field. Everyone's starting to get pretty spread out, but we do have a battle for 22nd here. Neil Froelich on the inside of Alan Rowell. Rowell going to try and cross him over. Just gonna stay behind him, though. Headed back towards turns 1 and 2. That Spam Machine looking up high, trying to get a run. Maybe going to try and cross down to that seam. I mean, even with, even without dynamic track working properly here on iRacing, it's still possible to make a couple different lines work, and I think we just saw it with Rowell there. He's going to be on the inside headed for turn 3 as we are getting closer to that halfway point. It's going to be around, if I can do math correctly, it's going to be lap 65, I believe, that we get our halfway point, or more like lap 67, really. So up in a 21st goes Alan Rowell. Brad Patton still at the front of the field. Justin Trombley in second. 1.3 seconds between your top two. Battle for 10th. Caitlin Height on those much fresher tires trying to run down James Hudson. Height's tires fresher by about 7 laps. Height going to look down the inside going through turns 1 and 2. Hudson on the high side. New up in a 10th. Is Caitlin Height going to be charging her way through the field? I kind of like the strategy of staying out a little bit longer because you might be able to be a little bit more aggressive on that last run of the checkers without having to worry too much about your tires because they're going to be that much fresher. Cody Smith right now battling it out with Tom Wetmore just inside the top 10. Those two have really leapfrogged themselves up towards the front of the field. There are 3 tire sets available for these drivers, so I'm guessing the majority of them are going to make it a 2-stop race. With if we do get a late caution, I'm guessing that they are going to try and take those last set of tires, although you never really know. Someone might try and stay out. Cody Smith ripping the fence through 1 and 2, trying to get a run here on Wetmore. You just have to run that bottom line, though. I'm not too confident in that high line coming in. You can see Smith just dipping his tires below that bottom seam on the racetrack. Wetmore crossing it over. Isaac, your thoughts on the different lines here at Homestead?
Homestead is one of the few tracks that Dynamic Track didn't completely destroy when it comes to multi-groove racing, so there's still options here at Homestead to either overtake, save tires, or just be strategic with your fuel saving. But yeah, it's going to come down to who blocks where, why, and how when it comes to a close 2-car battle like what we have brewing for the lead.
Yeah, and these two right here are stacking each other up, and Caitlin Height's going to get a big run here on Tom Wetmore. She's going to have the much fresher tires, so I have a feeling Height's going to make easy work of these two. Going towards turn number 1 now. Caitlin Height going to diamond it down to the bottom of the racetrack. You can kind of make that very bottom line work if you're brave enough. Cody Smith all the way up high, going to let Caitlin go through 1 and 2. Smith, though, able to roll the top and get a nice run on Wetmore, who got stacked up by Height. So that outside line might be starting to work as the inside line just gets a little bit too tight on tires. Ethan Lane now running down Brent McCoy for 3rd. side by side looking through 1 and 2. It's back to single file, but here goes Ethan Lane. Down the inside, right below that seam, up into third is going to be Ethan Lane. Jacob Fife on those far fresher tires. They're about 2 laps fresher than Lane, about 8 laps fresher than McCoy. Or sorry, 6 laps fresher than McCoy. I figured it out eventually. Battle for the lead starting to close up as well. Patton and Trombley about 9/10 between them. Jacob Fife working his way down the inside on Brent McCoy. Might be a bit of a small tire difference, but it's still a noticeable one. Fife going to be able to roll the center of the corner much better than McCoy. And meanwhile, at the front, we're getting a battle for the lead brewing once again. Trombley has the lead down to about 7/10 of a second as McCoy goes up the track and Fife gets into 4th. Trombley has the lead down to 7.5 of a second. It's definitely not helped by Patton getting caught up in the lap traffic. Now, so Isaac, now that we're about halfway through this race, what do you think the keys are going to be to success here over the long run? I cannot hear you right now if you were trying to speak.
Yeah, thanks. I forgot to hit my push to talk. Just did it again. Okay, I was talking about how lap traffic's probably going to be playing a factor here in a few laps.
We already have another driver into the pit lane. That's going to be the 88 car of Michael Dewell. He is 2 laps down, already used up 2 of those tires, so yeah, I don't know about. I don't think the strategy for Dewell is going to work out. I'm guessing he might be going for the 3 stop, but I'm not too sure if that's going to be the way to go. Back at the front of the field, Brad Patton still leading by about 5/10 of a second, about 30 laps left in the fuel run. I think Patton might have burnt up his tires even worse this run than he did last time. Yeah, Trombley already has that lead down to 4/10 of a second, so it's looking pretty obvious to me, at least at this point, that Justin Trombley is going to be an easy pick for the win. Although you never know what's going to happen at an oval track like this. Really, anything could happen. We saw it with Noah Gragson in the Xfinity Series race. We might see it again tonight. One battle on track that's been brewing throughout the whole race is around that 16th, 17th spot. Daniel Williamson right now trying to put some pressure on Chris Ryan. Ryan trying to roll the top. Williamson trying to roll the bottom. I mean, you can see that high line just does not have anything for the bottom through the middle of the corner, but on exit, that high line just pulls on the straightaways. Battle for the lead, 1/10 between your race leaders with the 07 car getting up in the mix. That 88 of Dewell on much fresher tires as well. Really trying to make it interesting here up at the front. I mean, if you're a lap car, you want to try and get around these leaders as fast as possible, but if you're the leaders, you do not want to get passed by the lap cars. Coming around to start lap 71 of 134. Towards turn 3 and 4 now, Dewell going to have to go down the inside of the 34. Everyone getting stacked up between the 94 on the inside. Dewell having to hop to the inside. They are 3 wide down the front straightaway. And getting caught on the outside of all of that is Justin Trombley. He's going to be able to make it clean through 1 and 2. And now he's going to dive to the inside. Trombley makes that left turn down the hill, but here comes that 88 car. Going to pressure him on the inside. That's going to stack him up. Going into turns 3 and 4. Down the back straightaway, here comes Patton with a run. Patton looking up the inside. Dewell going to go further down the inside on the 34. Now the 07 of Eric. Let me remember his name really quick. Eric Crowe going down the inside. Crowe is going to hold up Trombley going into 1 and 2, so we'll see if Patton can take advantage. Crowe fell back, though, so I think Patton might actually be the one caught up on the high side. Patton really trying to make the wall line work. He's going to have a good run on exit, but unfortunately, he just has nothing for Trombley. Trombley, though, is about to get caught up. 3 wide in the middle going to 3 and 4. Luckily, Crowe thought better of that and backed out at the last minute.
I just overheard Mark Robinson calling into the pits. I do not know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little early for me to pit, but I mean, maybe he's going to hope for... Ooh, I don't really know what you would be hoping for at this point. I mean, maybe a very specific set of circumstances where he undercuts the leader and then a caution comes out. I guess it's possible, but I have a feeling that's not going to happen. On board with Brad Patton, right now looking at the bumper of Justin Trombley going to 3 and 4. I don't think Patton's going to have anything for your race leader. It's being really smooth on the throttle, though. That's definitely something to keep in mind. Not burning up that right rear, not burning up the right front too much. 4.5 tenths between your leader. You can see Patton just running nice and high through 1 and 2. I don't know how it's going to work on speed for him, but he might be able to get something on exit. I mean, right there, he didn't lose too much time to Trombley. Well, nah, he did. I just don't think the Highline's really worth it, honestly. You know, it might be more fun to run than the bottom, but at the same time, you're just not really making up enough time for it to make sense. So coming up on lap 75 here of the Integrity Racing League 2021 season round 3 at Homestead. A very clean race so far. Battle right now going on for 7th between Caitlin Height and Sean Kimball. Side by side towards turn number 1. Caitlin on the inside. She's going to make that pass. I believe she does still have the tire advantage over a majority of the field. Caitlin Height rolling her way up into 7th. We actually might follow along for Caitlin, with Caitlin Height for a little bit here because she right now has a massive tire advantage over Tarabuck and McCoy in front of her. In the case of Tarabuck, it's about 6 laps, and in the case of McCoy, it's 11 laps. So Caitlin Height's going to be able to really roll up to the bumper of these guys and maybe sneak away with the top 5 here. I think that the strategy of staying out as long as you can, it really pays off once you get into that second stop of the race. Because once you're into that second stop, the way that your tires are fresher than the guys who pitted compared to where it was the first time, you're not losing as much time by staying out, so you end up being closer on the last run of the race. And, I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be a winning strategy, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see Caitlin try and mix it up here with the leaders. Stage 2 coming to a close at lap 89, so just about at the end of this fuel run. We saw last time the leader stayed out just enough to get the stage points and then dashed into the pit lane. Meanwhile, a couple of these guys stayed out even longer. Caitlin Height, big run off turn number 2. She's going to get a run on Nick Tarabuck. Moves over to the inside and going into turns 3 and 4. Up into 6th place goes Caitlin Height. Man, I mean, you can just see how fresh tires are such an advantage. You can just roll the center so much better than everyone on older tires. So that's going to be P6 for Height, although I don't think she's done yet. Might still have to run down Brent McCoy from about half a second back. Ethan Lane up next. I think 5th might be the best she can do on this run. Battle for 10th as well. James Hudson rolling down Cody Smith, who has been committed to that wall line for the past couple of laps. Off turn 2, you're going to see Smith clear Hudson, but Hudson going to have the advantage going into 3. Isaac, any other thoughts on strategy or maybe any updates on the radio?
Nothing over radio, but looking at these gaps, they're quite large. Patton to Fife is 5.138, and Timberley to Patton is 1.399. So it's going to be quite difficult to overcome these large gaps under their current pace. However, say if a caution is kind of brewing...
Oh, yeah, we got one spinning in 3 and 4. Caution's out.
Wow, look at that.
Well, you were right. A caution is brewing. Caution flag for a single car spin in 3 and 4. The admins have thrown the yellow. Everyone lining up under caution, and that's going to be devastating to Caitlin Height, who had such a good strategy going on the long run, but that's not going to benefit her because we just had one spin off turn 4. It was right around the 18 car of Cody Smith. So we will take a look at a replay because I'm not sure who it was that spun around. Isaac, if you can get an update on that, that would be fantastic.
Will do.
But I think you'll see it here. It was just off turn 2. Yeah, you see the smoke. And that's going to be... Oh, it was the 98 of Banfield. So Jody Banfield loops it off turn 1 and 2, bringing out the first caution of the night. Take a look at a replay. Yeah, and Banfield just got those inside tires stuck on the bottom seam, and in the end, that just spun his car around. The 98 Mustang spins and brings out only the second caution outside of a plate race of the season, and the first caution of the night. Pit stops under yellow underway now. Patton into the pits along with Trombley. It's going to be about track position here. Can anybody beat the leader out of the pit lane? Left side's up for Trombley. Left side's down. He's down and away. 4 tires for the majority of the field. 1 and 2, it's going to be Trombley, Patton, Fife, Lane, McCoy. No height. Up in a 5th over Ethan Lane, over Brent McCoy. No speeding penalty for the 0-0. So great stop by Caitlin Height puts her up into the top 5 for the first time tonight.
And we finally get to utilize the choose rule.
Yes, we do. So coming to 1 to green under caution, which, by the way, Isaac, if you could unmute your spotter and figure out when we are going to get that 1 to green, that would be very useful.
Never had it muted.
All right, well, let me know when we get...
I'll just pace around with these guys and just watch where they go.
You know what? And that might be helpful, yeah. But we will see eventually this choose rule come into play. I said it as a joke in the pre-race, but it is serious. You can choose the inside, you can choose the outside, but you cannot choose the cone. That is not a lane you can pick. So this is going to be our choose cam for this restart. Also, could be a nice flyby of the field, but I messed around with the mic gain, and all of a sudden, you can't actually hear the cars as they're going by. So a late race caution, or at least a relatively late race caution, it's going to let us utilize the choose rule. I'm excited to see how this plays out. The thing about Homestead is that on the restart, there are a lot of viable lines. You can roll the top. I mean, if you're good enough, you can roll the top and storm to the lead. So we'll see how this plays out. The sun's starting to set. The lights are going to come on in just a bit. But right now, we might be able to get some good post-race photos as it stands. The field rolling into turns 3 and 4. Justin Trombley's dominated this race on the long runs, so he'll be looking to hang on.
So they are choosing this time by.
All right, choosing this time by. Remember, inside, outside, but not the middle. Now, there is no actual cone on this racetrack, so we're just going to have to see what these drivers commit to. I'm going to guess your race leader is going to go bottom, but they might be able to go top for a bit of a sight line advantage. There go the wave arounds cars. It's going to be high, low, low, high, high, low, low, high, low, high, high, low. That's kind of uncommitted at the line. But Justin Trombley,
here.
Yeah, we might. Let me know if race control says anything about that. Justin Trombley going to line up as your leader on the outside line. And here's what I'm talking about in terms of the sightline advantage. If we go into the cockpit of Brad Patton, you can see that when you're pulled up alongside your race leader there, when he's on your outside, it's a lot harder to see when that car is going than if you're on their inside. That's just kind of the way that the positioning of the car works. You know, you're further over to the left, you can't really see over to the right as well. So it could be an advantage here for Trombley to line up on the outside. Any word on any penalties from the choose cone, Isaac?
Negative.
All right, so
scared that I'm gonna hit somebody.
Yeah, it's definitely weird to be able to drive through cars. But we're gonna restart this race on lap 84 of 134. It's going to be 51 laps remaining here at Homestead. Pace car gonna make the left turn into the pit lane. Here we go. First restart of the night. Trombley over Patton. Green flag is back out.
Green flag, green flag.
And you can see right there, Trombley with a massive jump on the restart. Side by side for second between Lane and Patton. Patton on the inside, going to clear Lane. Maybe charging after Trombley. Here comes Jacob Fife as well. Now Ethan Lane hopping to the outside of Patton. There's just enough room for him to make the move look like it was on, but in the end he fell back. Going to turn 3.
Dicey back here, 3 wide into 3. They quickly thought better of it.
Yeah, a couple of drivers moving around just a bit. But at the front now, Ethan Lane to the outside. He's going to take away second from Patton. Fife getting forced to the inside by McCoy. Fife going to roll the center. McCoy up top. Height back to 6th. Fly by the field as they come off turn 2. Going into turns 3 and 4, Justin Trombley still leading over to Ethan Lane, but Justin Trombley, one of the slower cars on the long run. Here comes Lane right along that black seam. Side by side for 4th, Fife on the inside. McCoy falling back on the high side. Height going down the inside for 5th. Here comes Alvarez down the inside. That battle right now for 6th place on track. A little bit of contact as they go through turns 1 and 2. Battle for the lead heating up. 8/1000ths of a second between your leaders, and here comes Lane to the inside. Ethan Lane launches it off into turn number 3 and clears for the race lead. A beautiful pass by Ethan Lane. First time he is going to be in the lead for the first time tonight. I said first time too many times. Now Justin Trombley is going to get mired back in traffic just a little bit as Patton makes that left turn down the racetrack, dives it off into turn number 1. Do that too many times and you might get some guys upset with you. But as of now, it's working out just fine. Trombley getting out of the way for Patton. So now Patton back to 2nd, side by side for 3rd, Trombley and Fife. Fife can have the inside going to 3. Everyone rolling the corner here, coming up on lap 88 of 134.
Trying to get a good driver's eye view down here. We got one wrecking off 4.
Trouble off turn number 4.
Cody Tripp.
It's going to be Cody Tripp again. No caution. We stay green. He might have just gotten sideways, but we'll get a replay. Oh, yeah. And you can see it start to slip in the middle of the corner there. It just traveled down the racetrack. Oh, yeah. So that car stepped out twice, and that second time it just smacked the wall. He actually didn't smack the wall. Looks like he might have kept it off it. He locked it down. Got it to the inside. Good on Cody to avoid the outside wall, but even then, that is going to be detrimental to his race. He's down to 24th. Back up at the lead, it's Ethan Lane over Brad Patton. Patton getting closer to the bumper, trying to get a run off turn number 2 here. I do believe we're going to have to pit one more time in this race, so we might end up with a fuel race to the end. And that could shake things up quite a bit. Patton rolling it into the corner, getting it right down below the seam. Lane leading, but here comes Patton. We know Lane even better. Lane is even more of a short run car than Patton is. One flying out of line going towards turn number 1. I believe that was the 51 of Wetmore. Patton all over the bumper now, rolling the center on Lane. And getting that car to rotate is just so important at a track like Homestead. Nose to tail going down the back straightaway. It is golden hour here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Going to turn 3, you can see how Patton just gets such a wide entry. He's able to cut it down on exit. We may not have multi-groove racing in the traditional sense, but you can see these guys really playing around with their lines to try and maximize their speed. Down the inside, Brad Patton gonna hook that left turn going into turn number 1, and up into the race lead goes Patton.
I'm trailing this main group right now. I'm just watching them. These guys are utilizing slightly different lines, just trying to get a little bit of air on that splitter. Try and get these cars a little bit better turn in speed and grip.
Yeah, I mean,
we're too wide going into 3 again.
The thing is, dirty air is not as important as it is in these cars as it is in the A cars with that giant spoiler they have. And if I was Dale Jr., I might use some more colorful language, but it's still a thing, you know. At any time you have one object going at high speed and another object going at high speed, the air is going to interfere with that second object because that's just how it is, you know. You can't really do anything about that. And while I'm not entirely sure if iRacing simulates it to its fullest in the Xfinity car as they do in the Cup car, it's still an issue. The lights have come on at Homestead, the sun is continuing to set, and I mean, yeah, like you said, they're just looking around for air, I think, at the moment. Front straightaway this time by, Brad Patton gonna lead him with 94, working lap 93, coming up on lap 94 next time by. These guys have been on...
Sorry, you can easily see the difference in tires here. I'm actually following these guys on a test drive, so I can't actually affect the race, but I'm only on 2-lap-old tires, and I am reeling these guys in with literally my 5th ever lap turned at Homestead Miami. That's how big of a difference tires are here at Homestead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think that we might even end up seeing a fuel-saving race to the end. I'm doing some intense calculations right now, and at the moment, they are barely good on fuel. If a fuel run is 50 to 55 laps, if you're on the shorter end of that, you are not making it all the way around, so... It'll be interesting to see if anyone calls it quits here. The sun is setting at Miami. The lights are on. Right now, it's Patton and Lane, your top two, pulling away from the field. But at the moment, I don't think it's going to be about who's in the lead now. It's going to be about who can save the most fuel. And if any of these guys have crew chiefs, I have a feeling they're telling him right now that you got to save, save, save. You got to clutch it into the center of the corner, maybe even on entry. You got to try and make that fuel last to the end. Just a little bit of clutching and coasting can go a long way. The field single file through turns 1 and 2. One driver already making it into the pit lane in. By the way, Isaac, I'm not sure what you're thinking here, but it might even be worth it if these guys know they're going to have to pit one more time to come in a little bit early and maybe try and get that undercut towards the end. That lap car, by the way, is going to force the leaders high here in 3 and 4. But I'm wondering if it might even be worth it to try and split this last run of the finish in half. Your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Judging by how close these leaders are running, I don't know if it'd be even worth it, because all it takes is one of them to drop off, and then the other gets the lead, and they just stay out and maybe save just barely enough. And if no cautions come out, it's really hard to get through all these cars. Even with newer tires, you're going to burn them up so fast. I don't even know if you'll be even having any good enough tires to take on a leader.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's going to be interesting. I think that if fuel is going to be as much of an issue as I'm thinking it is going to be, then I have a feeling it might be worth it to try and split the stage. But if fuel is not an issue, then it might just be a race to the end. And I think in that case, Trombley has this one. Never want to speak too soon, though. Down the back straightaway, it is still Brad Patton over Ethan Lane. Lane pressuring Patton for the lead this entire run, unlike he did in the first run, where he kind of let Patton get away and then scooched him back in later in the run, but ended up burning up his stuff trying to get around him then. Now, he's held with him the entirety of the run. Meanwhile, Justin Trombley, you can see he's starting to put a little bit of pressure on Jacob Fife, and he's going to dive to the inside going into turn number 1. Trombley up the inside. Fife, though, just able to roll that third lane, try and pick it up on exit. For the lead, you saw Ethan Lane look to the inside. We got a battle for third and a battle for the lead going on at the same time here at Homestead. Side by side through turns 3 and 4. Trombley inside, Fife outside. Fife holding strong. That's going to let Trombley burn up his right front, trying to keep the car down in the center. A big pack of cars hooked up behind this 36 car. Side by side, headed through 1 and 2 again. Fife just holding strong on the outside. I don't think he's going to be able to get cleared this time by. Fife still holding on. Both of them might be running in the leaders at the moment. But, I mean, I'm really impressed with Jacob Fife. That outside lane doesn't typically work as well as he is making it right now. Caitlin Hike going to get a run on these two as well. Might be thinking about taking it 3 wide going into turn number 1. Still side by side for third. Surprised we haven't seen any contact between these two just yet, but I think Trombley might finally have Fife cleared. Is Fife going to fight back, though? He might. Not going to have the run going into 3 and 4. Lap car of Alec Daffin getting out of the way. Now here comes Lane, rolling the center, getting down to the bottom. This battle for the lead is about to be interrupted by a flying 34 car. So we got 30
on pit road.
Uh-oh. Well, it's not going to bring out a caution because it's off the racing line. But Isaac, we are on lap 20 with 34 laps to go. That's a 54 lap fuel run to the end. Do you think they're going to make it?
I do not believe so. I think they're going to have to pit.
I think just the question is when. You know, I mean, I'm really thinking that if you're able to, you should try and split the stage halfway. I mean, especially if you're a guy like Ethan Lane who already has a win locked up this season. I mean, it might be worth it. Car on the wall, that's Brett McCoy off turn number 4. But it might be worth it to just give it a shot. You know, what do you have to lose? Brad Patton is starting to pull away with the lead. Ethan Lane is very much a short-run car, so if you get a caution, like, you know, in like 10 or so laps, I think Ethan Lane's going to have a good shot at the win. But any longer than that, I'm not entirely sure. The next thing we have to keep in mind is if you do decide to pit, do you take tires? Because, I mean, on one hand, it makes sense to just come in, get your tires, and go to the end. But if you're not going to have that many laps to go, would it be worth it to maybe just stay out on the tires you have, even though fresh tires are worth about 4 seconds a lap?
take right sides.
You could do that as well. Then you just have to worry about the balance of the car changing.
A lot of these guys are starting to run the wall to save fuel.
Yeah, although I don't know. I mean, would that really help them save?
You use less throttle. You use much less throttle.
It is true that you might use less throttle. Although you end up with higher revs down the front straightaway, so unless I just don't know how fuel works, it might be a little bit of a trade-off.
Engines run, when they're at a higher RPM, they tend to run a bit more efficient.
Ah, I did not know that. Okay, well, I know things. Not too many battles on track going on right now. In the end, it's just a fight to the finish. Justin Trombley still trying to get around Ethan Lane. Coming up on 30 laps to go in this 134-lap race at Miami. It's gone caution-free except for one caution so far. Trombley still trying to run down Lane. I think if he gets around Lane, that's going to be smooth sailing to the race lead for that 34 car.
Yeah, I'm running the top side right now, and it's, I mean, this might be fresher tires talking, but what these guys are doing, they're way out of the throttle. They're barely touching it through the corners. They're almost coasting through the corners as they're trying to save fuel and tires, and coming off exit, they roll back into it. So the whole higher RPMs argument is about what they would normally do if they ran off the bottom. They're rolling out of the throttle so soon that they're actually not carrying that much speed into the corner in the first place.
Well, what I find is interesting is that the fact that they're not coasting, I mean, listen in.
Like, you can hear them.
Yeah.
Definitely, you can hear them, but they're resting their foot on the throttle. They're not sitting quarter half. They're just idling almost through the corner.
Yeah, I mean, what I was thinking is that at this point, you might even want to consider clutching it through the center of the corner, but I just don't know if it'll be worth it. I mean, I know it'll help save fuel. I just don't know if you'll lose too much time doing it. Isaac, your thoughts on fuel saving, I guess?
I mean, I'm clutching it through the corners, and I'm blowing past cars still, so... Again, it might be my newer tires, but definitely clutching is a viable option. I think Michael Dewell is thinking of pitting. I don't know if I heard him correctly.
Well, there's that. Well, Michael Dewell has already pitted like 5 times this race, so I'm not sure how worth it would be for him to come into the pit lane. But Brad Patton, out onto the racetrack, still as your race leader. He's led a lot of laps tonight, but not on the long runs. He is getting ran down once again by Trombley. There's Dewell in the pit lane. Coming up closer to the finish of the race. We just keep inching towards it. In a 3. 1, not 3. That is the wrong corner.
Again, you are getting these corners all mixed up.
I don't know why. They look very similar in my defense. Down the back straightaway, Justin Trombley trying to run down Patton. I mean, he might just be saving right now, because I don't know. He might just be planning to get him on fuel and not necessarily get him on track at the moment. But that Mustang logo getting closer and closer in Patton's rear view. And here we go down the front straightaway. Patton blocking to the inside. Wow. I mean, we've talked about him being aggressive. I did not expect a block with over 20 to go. Down the inside goes Trombley. Patton going to fight back on the high side. Dewell out of the pit lane. Side by side down the back. They're sailing it into 3 and 4 right now. Still, I don't think anyone's clutching and coasting.
Jay Hirschman's pitting in.
Now we've got some battling going on. Heischman gonna bring it into the pit lane. By the way, it is Heischman, not Hirschman, but
Heischman.
Yeah.
Heischman.
So here he goes. Yeah. Down into the pits. 25 laps remaining. And now we'll see if anyone tries to split the stage as Patton keeps fighting back on the high side. Maybe looking back to the inside. With only 25 to go, I mean, really, I think if I'm Brad Patton, I'm bringing it into the pit lane next time by and splitting the stage in half. I mean, you gotta try something. I really think you gotta try something. Especially when you know you're not the fastest car. You know, I think that if you're Trombley, you might be fine just staying out and coasting it. But if you're Patton, you gotta come in. You gotta try it, you know? So right now, 4 cars...
slowing down right now.
What were you saying?
Lap times are really slowing down now. These guys are way checking up into the corners.
Yeah, we're almost off by a second, and Patton is still pressuring Trombley for the lead, so it makes me think that he is planning on coming in about halfway through the stage. And how about Guillermo Alvarez? We haven't talked about him much all race, but he is coming in around this middle section of the run. He's worked his way up to third. He might be looking after the leaders. I mean, still, no one is trying to coast it through the center. They're still on the throttle. No one trying the clutch. It's Trombley with a 2-second lead over Patton, although I think he might just be saving. Down the front straightaway once again, coming up on lap 113 of 134. 22 laps to go. And that lap car just forced a couple of guys out wide. It let Trombley get away with the lead a little bit. Listen to Trombley going into 3 and 4. You're going to hear him you're going to hear him let off pretty early. He still doesn't clutch it though. A lot of fuel saving going on. So Isaac, I don't suppose you've heard anything else since our last update over the radio regarding pit stops.
No, I hear small chatter here and there, but it's nothing really talking about pitting this time. It's mainly just cars letting each other go as they're trying to save fuel, just mainly thank yous, let me buy, letting you buy high, letting you high low, stuff like that. It's mainly just these guys just trying to survive to the end here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone at this point who's going to go all out trying to get the lead. I mean, I think if he wanted to, Alvarez might be able to get around Patton and Trombley, but that would require him to push a lot, and I just don't know if he's willing to lose that much fuel, especially in the center of the corners. 20 to go. Here comes Alvarez on Patton. He's going to work it down the inside. Might try and push Patton up the track just a little bit off turn 2 down the back. Alvarez inching away on Patton. He might be good on fuel. I got to imagine that if any of these drivers are realizing that they're good on fuel, then they're going to start pushing right now. 20 laps to go, 19 at the line. And that's going to be, like I said, a very long fuel run. We're inching closer to the point where we're actually going to have to go 55 on fuel, and that is the ultimate lap. I think that once we get to 55 laps on one stint, I think at that point there is no more fuel saving. You got to pit. So it might feel like this race is all said and done, but there's still a long way to go. We can just hear they are crawling through the corners, trying to save as much fuel as they can. I think that's the reason, actually, why Trombley hasn't pulled away here. I think that if he wanted to, he could probably get a pretty big lead, but I think that he just doesn't want to burn up his fuel.
I think it's because second place car is backing off as well, so Trombley's taking advantage of that, thinking he can back it off too and save a little bit more.
Yeah, that's probably it. But I mean, really, I don't know if maybe Alvarez just wants to push it and hope that he makes it on fuel, because it wouldn't be a terrible strategy. You kind of got to risk it. You know, that's what I've been saying. It's a risk-reward thing. William Dunn heading into the pit lane.
Here, I'm right in front of the leaders. I'm going to get a pretty good idea of what they're doing.
Yeah. 17 to go.
Holy cow, I had to literally lean on the brakes for half a corner to fall back to them because how slow they are on entry.
Yeah, I mean, they're just saving, you know, they're saving fuel, they're saving tires, but still, Alvarez is not letting this lead go. He might even be trying to push Trombley. I think
they're lifting way early and staying on the brakes almost to the apex of the corner.
So here's my thing, right? Alvarez and Trombley have been on their tires for the same amount of laps at this point. They got 16 to go, 37 laps on the stint. It's over a fuel run. I don't know, you know. I don't know if they can make it, but if they can, I think whoever stops saving is going to be the one to win. God, these laps are tense. Alvarez rolling in high, trying to roll it down low, get the crossover. We got a battle for the lead, and they're both trying to save fuel. This is wild. We're going to get side by side in a minute here because I believe Alvarez is getting a little bit impatient behind the 34. And if it comes down to it, would he use the bumper at a track like Homestead? I know, Isaac, in the past few days you've had that conflict quite a few times whether or not to use the bumper and try to get a guy out of the way. And here we go. Alvarez down the inside, side by side for the lead.
Even 3 inches between them. They touch. Oh,
contact! Alvarez getting into the door of Trombley. They touch through 3 and 4.
Right behind. This is a great angle.
Battle for the lead. It's getting touchy.
Trombley got a little loose on entry there. His rear end kicked out a little bit up towards the middle lane as they both get a decent run off turn 2.
I think Trombley wanted to try and squeeze Alvarez, and Alvarez wanted to push Trombley, and in the end they came together in the middle of the corner. They might touch again.
They do.
Contact for the lead. Trombley up the track.
Barely out of the wall.
Hey, you know what they say, rubbin's racing. Oh, this is incredible.
It's going to be a compactor in the wall if Trombley gets at him again.
And Guillermo Alvarez, for the first time tonight, bodies his way to the lead over Justin Trombley. 13 laps to go. They're close on fuel, and they're fighting for the lead.
Oh, pace has picked up a little bit. Trombley starting to run him back down.
And in this case, could Patton swoop in? If they wreck each other racing for the lead, which is looking like a possibility, could Patton swoop in? Or even Heischman, who was trying to split this last run in half?
Yep, he's getting. I think he's going to get his lap back.
Yeah, he is. Heischman's going down the inside. He's on fresher tires as well. He's 20th on track, but Alvarez just has to get out of the way. This is amazing racing.
Multiple lap cars get into it. I think that's William Dunn. Yeah, it is.
Can we have more racing like this? I love this. Trombley is amazing. Trombley is still trying to run him down. Next week we're at Las Vegas, and by the way, knowing how that track is through 1 and 2, we might see more of the same. Now Trombley back to the outside. Are they going to touch again in 1 and 2? You can see Alvarez
picked up a 10th going into turn 1. He's starting to get him back.
And Alvarez sent it. Alvarez sent it and tried to cover off Trombley.
Oh.
Trombley forced down the inside, side by side off 2 down the back.
Will he return the favor into 3?
No, he hots in line. Is he going to give him the bumper? Not going to do it. There's no more saving. I think at this point they are both going for this win.
Picked up another 10th on him.
They're racing too hard, I think. I think we might even see an Auto Club 2013 recap. Or redo, rather.
Brad's getting mad at Mark for getting onto him. Or getting into him going into 3. He says you're getting me too loose. You're too loose, so... Assuming that means his pace was being hurt a bit as he picked up another 10th coming off the corner.
And Alvarez got tight. Alvarez got tight on the outside of Trombley. Trombley looking down the inside. Alvarez covering it off. Coming up to inside 10 to go. And keep in mind they are close on fuel. Trombley better on exit. Alvarez better on entrance. And Brad Patton reeling him in for the lead. 9 to go.
Wide. Ooh.
Here he goes. Trombley down the inside again. If push comes to shove, will he push him up the track? Alvarez holding on. Gets tight off too. Trombley down the inside. Side by side down the back.
There.
Alvarez might have had to jump out of the gas. Patton's gonna close up once again, going into 3 and 4. There goes Trombley down the inside.
Back now. He's here.
And look at Alvarez on the high side, trying to roll the top.
Clear him. He's clear.
New leader, Justin Trombley.
Look at Patton, he sends it in.
And we know Alvarez is not afraid to try and move guys out of the way. We saw it in 3 and 4 a while ago. We might see it again. 3 cars fighting for the win with 8 to go. I think Alvarez has to be a little bit wider on entry, though. He's focusing too much on that. He's focusing too much on that entrance and not enough on the exit. 2 tenths between your leaders. Trombley nearly got in the wall off 4. 6 laps to go. 7 laps to go. Could Alvarez make another charge at it? Is it too little, too late? I mean, he's hanging around 2 tenths back of Trombley, but I think he knows at this point that his tires are gone. Yeah, I mean, you can see that line that Trombley is running just so much better on exit. I don't know why Alvarez hasn't tried to pick up on it yet. But there is a slow car in the way. Slow car going to be in the way going into 1. Alvarez running too low on entry. 6 laps remaining. Trombley got choked up by the lapped car. It's going to be the 88 of Banfield, or 98 of Banfield. 6 to go, and now they're close on fuel. I just think
Caitlin Height get into here. She's only 0.8 of a second back, and she's got lappers in front of her who can probably offer some sort of draft and going in to these final few laps.
I just don't understand why Alvarez hasn't moved up on entry yet. I mean, man, right now he's just running so narrow that he doesn't have anything on exit, and his entrance isn't even that good. I think that's what's going to hurt him in the end. And that's, of course, if they can all make it on fuel.
His rear end is dancing like crazy coming off corner exit. I think he's just burnt up his tires.
He's just forcing it down on entry. I mean, honestly, I don't know why he hasn't tried to copy the line that Trombley is running, but in the end, it could still come down to fuel. They've been on these tires now for 49 laps. This is very close on fuel. So despite the challenge from Alvarez, it's looking like it's going to be Trombley coming away with the victory if they can make it. I mean, Isaac, is there still a threat of fuel? Let me try that one again. Is there still a threat of fuel? My God, is there still a threat of fuel running out? That is what I was trying to say.
Definitely, radio chatter is dead silent. These guys are focusing on how their fuel is going to work out. These guys are just easing it in. I can literally hear Patton blipping the throttle on the straightaway just to save a little bit of extra gas.
Man, this is... Oh, man. Coming up on 2 laps to go. This is gonna be right down to the edge of to the end of a fuel stint, and considering how hard they were pushing for the lead just then, I mean, I don't know if they can make it to the end.
Yeah, any hopes of fuel saving went out the window when those guys started scrapping for first, as Trombley's pulling out a 1.2 second gap. Has he pushed it too hard and just gone full send on the fuel, or I have no clue.
It's going to be 52 laps on this fuel run now. They might be able to make it to the end.
Patton has let the lap car go, I'm assuming to save fuel as he's falling back. I don't think Trombley's going to make it.
Well, here we go. White flag, 1 lap remaining. I don't even think Trombley's full throttle on the straightaways. 134 laps out of 134 here at Homestead. This one the last. Is Trombley going to make it back around? Will Alvarez make it back around? Will any of them make it back around? Headed for 3. I think he's got enough fuel. We'll see how close it was if he does burnouts. But Justin Trombley going to bring it off turn 4, the dominant car of the night. He's going to have enough fuel, and Justin Trombley is going to win at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Alvarez second, Patton third, Caitlin Height with the top 5, McCoy 5th, and Samuel Roush coming home P6. Jacob Fife 7th, Tarabuck 8th, and Ethan Lane 9th, Sean Kimball rounding out your top 10. Justin Trombley wins it, and we'll see how close he is on fuel if he decides to do a burnout.
I hear Trombley's engine sputtering. I think he ran out. Yeah, he just stopped.
Just after the line as well. So not enough for a burnout, but enough to park it on the back straightaway. Justin Trombley, your winner here at Homestead, and establishing himself as one of the best cars on the long runs. Man, before we go into our post-race interviews, I mean, that was an incredible battle for the lead there. Isaac, I mean, you got any thoughts on that?
I'm speechless.
Me too. I mean, do you think that, you know, a lot of times on iRacing, people tend to be a little bit more conservative with some of the contact they make between cars, but what we saw there on those last few laps was full contact, full aggression racing. I loved it. I thought it was great. And now we get to interview our race winner, Justin Trombley, given that he is in a voice chat. We'll try and bring him up now. Here, let me try and find it. Okay, doesn't look like we can bring up Trombley for an interview just yet. Oh, nope, there we go, found him. Hey, Justin, it's Jonathan Oates of the TMG broadcast booth. You got us?
I got you, bud.
Well, that was a great race to the end there. I mean, we thought that you might have been a little close on fuel, and it looks like you weren't able to make it back around at the start-finish line after the race was over. But just how close were you to not being able to make it to the end?
I was all right that way. I had like 3 laps, I think, something like that, 3 to 4 laps.
Well, we saw in that last run there, things got pretty close between you and Alvarez. I mean, what are your kind of thoughts on that battle, the contact racing going on between you two?
Well, I was kind of just riding, and then I looked in the mirror, and I was like, oh, that must be a lap car on new tires, and then I hit my F3 button, and I'm like, wow, he's on the lead lap. He's coming. Hopefully he kind of is going too hard too early. Looked like that's what he did. I just tried to keep my pace and be smooth, and hopefully I could have got the lead back from him, and we had a hell of a battle there for the win.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a great race to commentate from up in the broadcast booth, but we saw really throughout the race, you were pretty much the dominant car once it came to the long runs. I mean, maybe you don't want to give away your secret here, but what do you think made the difference between you and the field once the green flag lap started to tick off?
I don't know. I mean, I assume everybody knows, like, you kind of have to save tires. It's just kind of who's the smoothest, and smoothest with the throttle, smoothest with the wheel. I just tried to be super smooth for like 20, 25 laps, and then I kind of picked it up a little bit when I need to, and it was there. I mean, I assume I just had better tires than everybody on the long run. That's what it looked like.
Well, in the end, I mean, you came away with a great win. You were able to dominate pretty much the entire race. Anyone you would like to thank for the win?
It's like the Brad Mayhar was spotting for me. He came on, was helping me out. My buddy Sean Kimball came on, and he also was in this race tonight, so I'll thank them for coming out. It was a good time.
All right, well, thank you for joining us here in the booth. Congratulations on your win. We're going to go ahead and send you back.
Take care.
And that was race winner Justin Trombley in the number 34 all-black Ford Mustang. Next up, we can bring the number 83 of Guillermo Alvarez up into the broadcast booth. Hey, Guillermo, it's Jonathan Oates on the TMG broadcast booth. You got us?
Hey, guys.
Well, man, I mean, you drove a great race out there. You were able to make a charge there on that last run. You made a little bit of contact battling for the lead with Trombley, but you still were able to fight with him. Did you ever think that you might have had a shot at the win there?
Well, a few laps before that, I thought we could fight it, but I think I burned up the tires a little bit in the end, and she was just a little bit better cutting through the middle of the corner and through the exit. I was only good on the entry.
Yeah, and for the most part, I mean, throughout the last part of the run, we figured that a lot of people were just going to be kind of staying back, trying to save fuel. I mean, was there ever really a threat of running out before the end of the race?
Running out, I don't think so. I think we did like 50 lap run on the first one, and I knew I was good on field, so it was just a matter of taking care of the tires and holding back and attacking when you have to.
Well, for the most part, it was still a really good race out there for you. You were able to bring it home in second. Anyone you'd like to thank for the finish?
I'd like to thank the Black Mamba Racing Team group. They've been behind me for the last few months, so I'm glad we showed that car and finished second.
All right, well, great job out there today. We're going to go ahead and send you back.
Thank you, guys.
And that was Guillermo Alvarez, driver of the number 83, who brought it home in P2 after tonight's race. Next up, we are going to try and bring Brad Patton up into the booth, one of the more aggressive drivers throughout the race. Hey, Brad, it's Jonathan Oates of the TMG broadcast booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you. What's up?
Well, man, you drove a great race out there. You were able to bring it home in third. You looked to be pretty fast on the kind of short to middle runs, but in the end, you kind of fizzled out over the long runs. What do you think was the main difference there between you and the field?
Pretty easy. I burnt my right front up, and I'm guessing they didn't.
Well,
That'll do it.
Yeah, the short run was pretty fun. I mean, I know I had speed. Middle of the run, I knew that what the car was capable of and how tight it was going to get, and then it was going to get loose off of 4. So it was just a matter of fact of, just trying to save the tires and that. But I had nothing for Trombley in the long run. He was just the last 15, 20 laps that he was gone.
Yeah, well, even still, we saw you were pretty fast on the early to kind of middle part of the run, and we saw at the beginning of that final run to the finish there, you were able to get the lead and hold on for it for quite a bit. Did you ever think that maybe Trombley was kind of going to fall off as the track maybe went cooler, and you were able to maybe pull a... Let me try that one again. And you were maybe going to be able to pull out a win?
Oh, no, no, no. The whole point of me going and battling, trying to get up to first there, is me and Ethan were battling. We were having a good time, and we were trying to get the 10 stage points for playoffs. So if I wasn't dumb, didn't burn out my tires trying to do that, I might have had a shot for him at the end of the race. But I knew Trombley was already going to win the race just by how his car control was, how everything was. He was saving really good, and congrats on Guillermo coming out of nowhere and just. It was a hell of a battle watching those two race it out, and me trying to catch them. And I mean, we had some lappers in front of us, and I might have caught up to him, but at the end of the day, P3, another good solid points finish. Can't really beat that kind of a day.
Yeah, I mean, we noticed how you were talking a lot about kind of like the playoffs and going later on in the season. I mean, we noticed that really throughout the race, you've been one of the more aggressive drivers in the field. How do you think that's going to play into your championship run as we get closer to the playoffs in, let me just make sure I have the date right, in September?
Well, if all keeps going how it is right now, I think I'll be sitting pretty. But it's too early in the season to start looking that far ahead. Right now, I'm just taking it one race at a time. Just trying to put on a good show for the fans and that. And the aggressiveness this is just how I race. I mean, I know I'm fast. I know I can keep up. But there's some tracks where I'm going to be dog slow. So I'm just going to take my chances when I can, where I can, and see what happens from there.
Well, you drove a great race out there. Anyone you would like to thank for the result?
Thank you guys for broadcasting. I got to thank Pro Powder and Paint. Got to thank Depth Esports, who's on the car, Innovative Gear, Freshen Up Hydration Lab, and MLCN. Hopefully he's over in RSR doing good too. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And huge congratulations on your third place finish. We're going to go ahead and send you back.
Thanks. Have a good night.
You too. And that was Brad Patton, driver of the number 1 car, who brought it home in P3 after 134 laps here at Homestead. Only 2 cautions, or was it 1 or 2 cautions? It was just 1 caution, actually. So
It was just one. I
Yeah.
should have asked him how close he was on fuel.
Oh, we probably should have. Oh, well, I think we kind of got the idea that we might have overhyped it a little bit. I thought they were a lot closer, but I guess they could have gone about to the end of the fuel run. But man, I mean, it was a really entertaining race out there. I think we saw that even when push comes to shove, like we saw in that battle for the lead, these guys enjoy it. These guys are all very respectful of each other. And we saw a great race. And Isaac, any last thoughts on that before we go ahead and sign off?
You know the time, you know the place. Be there next week.
Yeah, next Monday on the TMG Racing Network, same time, same place, will be 134 laps once again from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, March 8th, 2021. I have a feeling we're going to see a pretty similar race there, especially with the way that turns 1 and 2 is. You got that bumps all the way down to the bottom, so you can't really run all the way down there, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Until then, this has been the TMG Racing Network with Jonathan Oates and Isaac Johnson. I don't know why I introduced us in third person, but don't even worry about it. We're going to see you all